Watford welcome Premier League leaders Leicester City to Vicarage Road on Saturday in what should be an intriguing clash. Reg, just why have Leicester been so successful this year?
Well, I think it's just the adaptability of the team. I think they've come into the league and surprised everyone. Obviously, they've been a surprise package, but it's more the fact that they haven't overcomplicated their play. You know, Ranieri's gone in there with his team, had a look at his team, his personnel, and thought, okay, we're going to play a 4-4-2. This is how we're going to do well. Now, obviously, the standout players, Mahrez and Vardy, have been instrumental in their position and being league leaders at this stage. But for me, you know, their defenders defend, their attacking players attack, and they've got two midfielders then who help out the back four. Sounds easy, really, but they've just done it so well from the start of the season up till now. And one thing that's impressed me is their consistency.
You mentioned it there, Mahrez and Vardy. It's hard not to start with those who've been, well, key figures in the whole of the Premier League season. What's Leicester's style of football, and how have they utilised their strengths to be so successful?
Well, Leicester are a team, they definitely play a 4-4-2. They look to get the ball forward quickly. They don't look to play. They're actually one of the lowest in possession stats in the league, one of the lowest in pass completions in the league. And that just shows you that they don't actually look to play in little triangles or little pockets. They just look to get the ball forward. They have good attacking players who are willing runners. And we got Riyad Mahrez on the right-hand side, Mark Albright on the left. They look to join in. So they look to get the ball forward. They've got Vardy, and he will run the line. He is going to always be an option. He wants to play on the shoulder of centre-halves and be a nuisance, and that's what he has been since the start of the season. He's come up at 19 goals doing that, so it's working for him. He's not going to change that. But as I said before, the two holding midfield players, you've got Danny Drinkwater coming in and Andy King. They will just be a holding midfield player duo. They're just going to sit in, get the ball off and play forward. Now, they have had a lot of joy from through balls as well, but the reason being, they break from here. Usually their opposition has played at quite a high line because they're picking the ball up so deep, and it'll be a true ball with Vardy's pace. He'll look to get in behind.
You mentioned Jamie Vardy there, and it's hard not to talk a bit more about him. 19 goals, top scorer in the Premier League, had an unbelievable season. And is that his game then, just playing on the shoulder and looking for the long balls and playing off the scraps, or does he come short? How has he got so much success as well?
Well, he's got a lot of success, and it's hard to mention Vardy without mentioning Riyad Mahrez and Mark Albright. Riyad Mahrez, he has 11 assists this season, number 2 in the league in assists, and he's got 14 goals. So you can see he's a massive attacking threat. Now, it's hard now just to mention Vardy and how they go, because what they do is they attack so well. They attack so well on purpose, and they attack on the counter as well. So their back four are massive in that, because the team know, their attacking players know that we can attack. We can go at the team with our balance, and we have two holding midfield players. So effectively they have 6 players in balance to hold back, and the rest of the players can go on attack. As I said, Riyad Mahrez with 11 assists, Mark Albright with 6. You know, we're talking about Jamie Vardy coming up with most of the goals with 19, but you mentioned Vardy. He is just a nuisance. He will always chase down anything. He will put pressure on the centre halves. He'll always be an option to join players in. Him and Okazaki have really done well up front. I think Shinji Okazaki just plays in the hole. He's a number 10. And he'll just drop back in and support the midfield, because that massive gap here, as we know, these two holding midfield players, leaves a massive gap. So Okazaki just come back in here and he can just support the midfield. But he really is, as I said, a 4-4-2. He does play up front with Vardy, and he just works so hard. He chases things down. And what you'll find with a lot of Vardy's goals, he does play on a lot of mistakes, turnovers of possession in midfield, and then quick through balls forward. They look to get the ball forward to Vardy as quick as they can. If he can get 1v1 with the defender, we already know this season with 19 goals he can be successful.
Staying with the attacking threat, you've talked about Albrighton and Mahrez. As the wingers, what are they like? Are they out and out wingers, look to get their man, whip crosses in, or do they cut inside? What's their sort of role in this team?
Well, you've got Mahrez. He's on the right-hand side. He's a left-footed player, as we know, and he loves to dribble. He loves to take players on. But what he does do, he loves to take players on and commit and drive at the goal. He's obviously a left-footed player coming inside. Mark Albrighton, a bit more out-and-out winger. He loves to play down the wing. He can cross balls with his left foot, be it that he is a predominant right-foot player, but he does love to get up and down that line and cross balls in. What's key for these players are Danny Simpson, the right back, Christian Fuchs, the left back. Basically, they will not go on attack. They will support the attack, but they will not look to combine. They will not look to join in. They won't look to overlap. That's not their game. Their game is literally, I want you just to support. So if they're in attacking positions, they're all going to move forward. Midfielders are going to support the attack. Your back four will push up. What you'll find, Riyad Mahrez is so hard to mark at times because he doesn't always play here. He'll come all the way inside. The goal against Manchester City, he came all the way over here, and he's supporting the attacks from over here. So from here, he knows I have balance in defence. Danny Drinkwater would just support that. Andy King probably a little bit less because he is a bit more of an attacking player, and they will look to push in and attack and commit players forward. That's what they'll look to do. And from down the wings, these will deliver crosses. They love to get down the line, create things down the line. That's what a 4-4-2 has to do. You've got the width of two players. You've got, as your fullbacks we mentioned about support, you've got those players. You're not looking to kind of mix. And one thing is interesting about the Leicester City team, they rarely change their team. You know, they rarely change their personnel. So Danny Simpson and Riyad Mahrez have kind of know each other now. They've put together a really good relationship. He'll understand exactly what Riyad Mahrez does. He does have defensive responsibilities as well, but mainly going forward. So that's where Danny Simpson can say, you go on, I'll cover here. Similar Christian Fuchs, Mark Albright on the left-hand side, a little less than on the right-hand side because they have been in the team from the very start of the season.
From Watford perspective, when you've got sort of wingers like that who are so good and lively forwards, how important is it as a team that it's not just a back four defender, you've got the midfielders sitting in front, marshalling across, and also the wingers, whoever they may be, tracking back and helping out the fullbacks?
Well, it's an interesting one to look at formation from the Watford's perspective, because we're used to seeing them playing a 4-2-3-1. We went to Manchester United and played a 4-4-2, and it's interesting. Will we go like for like 4-4-2? Give us that extra bit of width. I actually quite enjoyed looking at us with a bit more width at Old Trafford on Wednesday, and it can just give it an extra option. Now, I still think it's so important that we do have Ben Watson and hold midfield players in here, because as I mentioned before, he doesn't play out. Riyad Mahrez does not look to just play out on the right hand side. He will on his left foot come inside, love to join in attacks and combine with Vardy and Okazaki. It'll be interesting, as I said, us playing a high line. I thought we did quite well against Leicester away from home this season. Us playing a high line's a risk with Jamie Vardy's pace, Okazaki then coming short. You need to have that whole midfield player to support that, but we've been the highest in catching teams offside this season, and there's a reason. We trust our pace, we trust the back four, we trust the two centre halves, and with Aurelio Gomez a good starting position in behind, I've seen a lot of balls from quality midfield players just not getting in that gap in between the back four and the goalkeeper. And you know, it's very difficult for strikers to try and, you know, create things when things are just going through the goalkeepers. Will they keep on making that run? And that's what you kind of do. You frustrate Vardy, frustrate their attack and threat, and hopefully then break down their play and catch them on the counter. You know, we seen Rondon at West Brom, you know, with these stepped on a little bit. As I said, they don't look to counter or go too far in attacking, but these two were left exposed. And what was interesting was it was a breakdown of play. It was Danny Drinkwater and Andy King who was just in the team. Breakdown of play here, and they got caught up in a position which left it wide open. Rondon made a great run down the side of Hoot, bullied Hoot, and it was 1-0. You know, or well, they got back for the draw. So that was interesting to see. Breakdown of play, through ball, quick ball forward, and that's what we're used to seeing with Deeney and Igala. We do look to play the ball quickly forward. So not expecting too much of a possession game, because we know what Leicester are like. But those breakdowns of play and counter-attack and transition, very, very important in this game.
We've talked about them, but the two midfielders sitting in front of the back four, Danny Drinkwater and Andy King coming in, and N'Golo Kante, of course, injured, who's been a massive player for them. So Andy King coming in, will he want to do the same job and just sit in front of there, or does he look to get forward as well? Or these two defence midfielders, how important are they to Leicester's formation? Well,
you mentioned N'Golo Kante. He is key, and we already know. We've seen from the start of the season him and Danny Drinkwater, but more so N'Golo Kante. He was so important. I think he tops the list of interceptions and tackles. He's the type of player who just plays that, as you called it before, Makelele role. He just sits in front and just makes the tackles. But what he is a great passer of the ball as well. He can distribute the ball very, very well. They don't overcomplicate their passing. These guys, their short passes will literally just, bring the fullbacks into play, bring the attackers into play. And as I mentioned before, the through balls, they might just look to play short passes or through balls in behind the back four, but they won't look. They just look to tick it over and move the ball. As you mentioned, Andy King, he will look to step on just a little bit more, but he needs to be careful. He wants to make sure he can show the manager what he can do. Kante isn't out for a long time. He's only out for 2 weeks. I think it was a hamstring injury. And, you're looking at that. He will want to impress. He obviously knows Kante is imperative in the team, but he wants to be able to say, well, listen, I can play as well. And he is a top player. We know him from his championship days as well. So he will look to advance and attack a little bit more. And Danny Drinkwater will sit, but that's not saying that he's just going to sit in front. Danny Drinkwater is a high energy midfield player, and Leicester are a high energy team. That's what teams can't really deal with. West Brom was a goal in the 46th minute, last minute. I think just thought West Brom looked very, very tired, and Leicester just looked like they wanted to go again and go again. And that's what they have done in previous games. They just overrun their opposition with their energy, and their sustained energy at that. They were 90 minutes. They're chasing people down. They're trying to get on the counter, and that's what to expect. But as I mentioned, the two midfield players, that is a little bit how they play. Danny Drinkwater, Andy King. Andy King will play a little bit more advanced, but not too much, because their main thing is, these are our attacking players. These are what will give you us balance. You guys attack, we'll defend.
Going all the way back now to the back five, Schmeichel in goal. We talked about their low possession, counter-attacking team, etc. So I assume Schmeichel won't be looking to play out to the fullbacks that often?
With a kick like that, I wouldn't either. He can boom it. He really does have a massive, massive kick. You'll see goal kicks off the floor. He even looks to counter from goal kicks. If he gets the ball quick and hits off one of the advertising hoardings, or a fan gives it back to him quick, he will just throw it down and try to boom one straight down here, because they know that's what he can do. And they have had joy from that in the past. They get corners, and it's interesting, just as we mentioned, the back five, Robert Hoot, the goals he's come up with already this season, Wes Morgan, two big centre-halves. They love to go and attack the ball, and they've, as you know, Robert Hoot has already had 3 goals from centre-half, from set pieces this season. So that's something we need to look out for. Restarts are massive in the game. Throw-ins, free kicks, but now looking at his massive kick, restarts from goal kicks are massive. Usually we're used to seeing players stop and prevent teams, their opposition, playing. So you'll see Ighalo, Deeney step on, and if Amrabat's playing or another midfielder's playing, they'll step on and prevent the play out. That's not what Leicester will look to do. He'll look to put the ball down and catch us out with men going forward after an attack. So that's his role in that. These guys, you will never see them split. They're not footballers. And that's what I like about Claudio Rene. He's just looked and thought, okay, this is the back four. They're defenders, they're going to defend. You guys defend. The amount of times they've made such important blocks late on in games, and prevented teams from breaking, and you talk about defenders, head it and kick it, just defend. They don't overcomplicate it. They haven't been given too much of a list of things that the manager wants them to do. He just says, go out and play your game and defend for me. And these guys do the exact same. They support 1v1 defending down the sides. They'll just stay in, and it's comforting to see at times. We're so used to seeing attacking fullbacks and being an extra option going forward, and one fullback goes, one stays, or 2 fullbacks go, one holding midfield player stays. No, not in this case. You're going to see you'll be up against a back four, and unless you catch them out in transition in midfield, it'll be very difficult to break them down.
So leading on from that, from a Watford perspective, where on this pitch, where will we be looking to get our joy, and how will we be successful?
Well, I just mentioned the breakdown of play. So they will look to play in spells. Obviously, I'm not saying just because their possession stats are low, will they just look to bomb it forward all the time. And, they will look to take it over a little bit. But when they do look to attack, as I mentioned, they will look to attack with bodies and with players going forward, sometimes on the counter-attack. So when they're pushing Ben forward and we can turn over possession, like we're used to seeing our centre-halves with fantastic distribution forward to Ighalo and Deeney, it's important that Ighalo and Deeney, I think, play up with each other. They have, be side by side, pick up the straps, because most balls I've seen forward, even in Manchester United, be it Deeney's the big man, Ighalo's so clever with his body, he can hold the ball up, and with supporting midfield players and Deeney picking the ball up, we can advance beyond the midfield and be up against this back four. And I think with Deeney and Ighalo's pace and desire and passion to get in these positions, they will be able to hurt them at times, and that'll just drop their midfield back in, create that space for our holding midfield player, and then what that'll do is just let us grow into the game, play. As we know, the Vicarage Road has just had a new pitch, and you can see the players have played very confidently there recently, just moving the ball around and creating chances. So breakdowns of play in midfield, massive, and getting the ball forward with quality into our 2 front men.